that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this movie review is going to be for what is the 5th film of the Monsterverse, the one that came out on Easter weekend last weekend, and ironically, I haven't reviewed Kong Skull Island, but the difference is, I want to kind of review some of the Godzilla films I own first, then after this, I review this, I reviewed Godzilla 1998, I want to do the Kong movies, like both King Kong 2005 and Kong Skull Island when I get it today, if I can find it anywhere. But yeah, that's why I haven't reviewed Kong Skull Island yet, because I want to review Peter Jackson's King Kong first, but since I reviewed the 2 Godzilla films in Monsterverse, and I just went and saw this, I might as well do this first. But anyway, guys, this is going to be for the sequel to 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, and this time it's once again directed by Adam Wingard. What's the plot of this movie? Well, in the new installment of the Monsterverse, the mighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla are now paired up together, and they're against a colossal deadly threat hidden within their world and our world, and threatens the existence of both of them and us. As well as diving deep into the mysteries of Skull Island and beyond, he delves straight into the origins of Hollow Earth. And also, this movie explores the ancient title that brought man and monster together forever. Yeah, so how was the movie made? Well, we all know. Godzilla vs. Kong, released in March 2021, or Easter 2021 weekend as well. Also Easter weekend. And it was during the final stage of the lockdowns. One of some of the very last lockdowns. 3 months before the theaters in my area came back. And during this time, my theaters were still closed. But, however, despite the pandemic, that did not stop Godzilla vs. Kong from surprisingly being a box office and streaming success. And following that, Legendary announced a sequel the next year in March 2022, and filming was going to commence later in May 2022. Then, when it comes to directing the movie, it was confirmed that Adam Wingard was going to be returning to direct, and this time Dan Stevens would be playing the lead human role. So they began filming the movie in July 2022, and they finished in November 2022. So, after that movie was completed and marketed, and I didn't even know there was a sequel coming out, I didn't pay attention to the news, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire would premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater on March 25th, 2024, and would be released in the United States on Easter weekend again, on March 29th, 2024, and this time with more theaters open. And the film has received mixed reviews from people. Some people apparently have even compared it unfairly to Godzilla Minus One, even though Godzilla Minus One's not even the same story. Really? I mean, this is definitely not... I mean, Godzilla Minus One's still better than this movie, no doubt, but I don't think they're similar. Because Godzilla Minus One has a different story. This kind of does not. And it has so far grossed around $250 million worldwide on a $135 million budget. Now, as for my reaction to the movie, you should all know, like, originally I'm obviously mixed on the Monsterverse. I like King of the Monsters, tolerated Skull Island, did not like Godzilla 2014, what started it. Yeah, the one where he's never barely in the movie at all. With the first Godzilla vs. Kong, you all know I reviewed that when it released 3 years ago during my beginning time on YouTube. And before I started getting better at my reviews. However, the suckiest thing is, I didn't get to experience this in theaters. So I had to watch it the shitty fucking streaming way. The sucky way. because my theaters would never reopen until June 2021. So so you all know, that time I just stream almost a majority of the new releases and just had to sit and watch other YouTubers get to go to the theaters that were open in their area in boiling fury and jealousy. Anyways, guys, I absolutely love the first Godzilla vs. Kong movie, and I considered it at the time the best of the Monsterverse. And that's a shock, considering that it was directed by one of my least favorite directors of all time, Adam Wingard. Or some of us call him Adam Shitgard. When it comes to his horror films, he's called Adam Shitgard. And you want to know what he did? Like, yeah, this guy, yes, I know this guy did You're Next and these two films. But keep in mind, guys, those were the only 3 movies from Adam Wingard I liked. You're Next, well, okay, You're Next I thought was good. I averagely liked You're Next, but I despised the way they ended that movie. Really did. That ending almost destroyed You're Next. Great cop-outs. And he's mostly, other than those 3, he's done some shitty projects. Like, for example, y'all know the Blair Witch Project, 1999. Guess what he did? He did the shitty 2016 reboot sequel that tries to act like it's a proper sequel to the original. It's a movie called The Woods. Last month before releases, just kidding, it's actually the Blair Witch sequel that was being filmed in secret. Yeah, and they probably know. It clearly seemed like they just slapped that stupid gimmick on just to make people go see the movie, and nobody did, and it bombed at the box office, and that's why no found footage horror movies ever got released in theaters since. Yeah, like, literally, all that movie is, like, Blair Witch 2016, same premise as the first film, it's just done much worse and much lazier. And this is coming from a guy who's not even a fan of the first Blair Witch Project movie, but ironically, like, I can give Blair Witch Project credit for introducing a new genre and having a really nice little concept and some nice little marketing tools. I'll give it credit for that. You can see why Blair Witch Project 1 was a success. It did something new with the horror genre, and it really did creative marketing. Blair Witch 2016, let's repeat the same thing, take out the few good qualities that were in the first film, ruin all that, just make it a lazy found footage horror movie, same plot as the first, with lazy jump scares. That's what Blair Witch 2016 is, or Blair Shit 2016 was. Then, of course, y'all know he was involved in the first 2 VHS movies. You want to know what segments he did? The first one, he did the shitty wraparound about the creeps who shark girls, make girls show their tits, vandalize houses, smash them, draw dicks on pictures, then talk about how they want to do women's asses next summer, and their TV getting smashed, and when they get to a house to steal a tape, they watch tape all the shorts in the movie with the dead guy, then they disappear one by one, and they're like, where the heck did they go? Who cares, let's keep watching the tapes with the dead guy. Yeah, and they all die, because they're so fucking stupid to leave the house. Yeah, I did that wraparound. He was also involved in VHS 2. You want to know what he did in VHS 2? He did the worst segment of VHS 2, and that was Phase I Clinical Trials. The one about the camera eyeball that had a nice execution, but that had a nice concept, but it was shittily done in execution. James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, was actually going to play the eyeball guy. Just a little interesting fact, like, the angry video game nerd was actually going to be the eyeball guy in that segment, but he was busy filming the angry video game nerd movie, he backed out, so Adam Wingard had to take over, and he looked bored out of his mind in that short. It's like, yeah, I like VHS 2, but I hate that segment. And ironically, the segment that comes after that segment, Around in the Park, the zombie point of view one, that was literally done by the guys who did the original Blair Witch Project. Ironic. That's how him and Adam Wingard met, though, and that's how Adam Wingard got hired to do that Blair Witch sequel. So yeah, Adam Wingard only had 3 good movies in his career, only one horror movie that's passable, and like 2 good movies in his career, and that's Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla X Kong. Well, yeah. So that's technically 3 movies, because, as for my reaction, sorry this took so long, guys, I just wanted to list some of Adam Wingard's filmography so you guys know who he is. This movie, I thought, was wicked awesome. This was definitely much better than Godzilla vs. Kong. Was it better than Godzilla Minus One? Fuck no. It was definitely not better than Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One is superior in every way. Godzilla Minus One cannot be topped. Never. Okay? This is the best of the Monsterverse films. It's not the best Godzilla movie. Okay? I still like Godzilla Minus One better. But this was the best of the Monsterverse. It's probably also my second favorite movie of the year behind Dune Part 2, and you can definitely see why it made $80 million on its Easter weekend. Adam Wargard actually did really good this time. Like, Godzilla X Kong was an amazing film to watch. That's definitely one I could definitely watch over and over again. It was the best experience on D-Box in the theater. Like, it's definitely Adam Wingard's best film. He may suck at horror, but he can definitely make a good monster team-up when it focuses on the monsters and not on the humans. What sets this film apart is its ability to balance the spectacle of the monster battles with really decent plot that keeps the audience invested. It may not break new ground in terms of storytelling, but the plot serves a purpose and provides enough context and drives the action forward. And it sets the stage for the epic clash between our four monsters. And their confrontation really feels earned, built up, and it's very impactful. As for the standout aspects of the film, the visual effects. The CGI in this movie, it's definitely top-notch. I mean, like, it's still not as good CGI as Godzilla Minus One CGI, which only had like a $20 million budget. And it blends the massive creatures and the environments, and you get jaw-dropping action sequences that you can really wows away the audience with epic battles between the titans. And the cityscapes here, they integrate details of the monsters themselves, and you get the VFX work that's definitely astonishing. Comparing the CGI to Godzilla Minus One, which is definitely the best, still the better Godzilla movie. It has the better human characters, and it's budget-wise, like, Godzilla Minus One has a budget around $20 million or so. Godzilla X Kong at 10 times the budget. Godzilla Minus One, like, literally, Godzilla Minus One, I definitely will say, has the better visual effects. And you can see why it won Best Visual Effects at the Oscars. It, like, for a $20 million budget, like, it feels realistic. It doesn't, like, feel cheap like PS5 CGI. No. It really felt like, yeah, that CGI in Godzilla Minus One really felt hard-worked. Right there. And the human characters, like, you connected with the human characters more in that movie, whereas the Monsterverse you barely do. And you actually get some epic Godzilla moments. And Godzilla in that movie was a scary threat. Right there. And he was really well done. Like, the CGI for CGI in this Monsterverse movie, the Monsterverse actually has some of the better CGI here. The action sequences, they are definitely the best action sequences of the Monsterverse, and they're exhilarating. Each fight scene was well done, choreographed, established franchise elements well, and you get gravity-great blowing showdowns with such epic battles in the hearts of bustling cities. Like, every moment gets etched to the audience's memory, and he built towards this epic climax that really left me on the edge of my seat. And also, what really sets the film apart was the homage to that little Showa era. And you blend the franchise's trademark goofiness with sensibilities, and you get cheered. And of course, it really does make great way for the audience, a great entertainment for the audience. So, how does our movie start for our whole story as a whole? We start off on Hollow Earth, and we first get introduced to Kong. He's running from a beast called War Dogs, makes it to the edge of a cliff, and then he lures creatures into the trap, and he sends literally one plummeting to the death, and tears another one or two of force, and the others try to run away. Kong then, of course, tries to feast on his kill. But it turns out that now Kong has an infected tooth, so he can't really eat. Then he hears a loud bellowing noise. And it turns out it's coming from another ape. She thinks, but it's a frog creature. So Kong resigns in solitude. And then we get to the human characters again. We got Rebecca Hall's character from Godzilla vs. Kong, who's working with Monarch to keep Godzilla and Kong separate from each other. Godzilla then decides to maintain dominance over other beasts, goes to kill them whenever they cause problems, and like Rome, like Godzilla's now kind of an Earth protector. Then you have the monster Sicilla that's causing mayhem, but then Godzilla charges its atomic breath and sends down Sicilla's throat, and then goes back to the Colosseum in his new bed. Like, yeah, ironically, Godzilla's new home is the Colosseum in Rome, which is actually not a bad home for Godzilla. Yeah, it kind of looks pretty nice. It looks pretty cool when he's sleeping there. I will kind of admit that. Then at an outpost facility that's on Hollow Earth, like, researchers are detecting heavy energy readings. They come from Kong's territory, and there's a sinkhole in the Earth, and that's where Kong killed the War Dogs. And then Rebecca Hall gets alerted to the information. Our colleague, then Rachel House's character, who's Director Hampton, like, has got this information, and we find out Rebecca Hall adopted, like, the girl from Godzilla vs. Kong, Gia, played by Kelly Huddle again, and starting public school for the first time in her life. Gia is experiencing visions connected to the Titans, and she literally makes drawings similar to the energy readings detected by Monarch. Gia then tells Eileen that she doesn't feel like she belongs in the new world, though. But Rebecca Hall's character insists she does. The The Outpost facility gets destroyed by another unknown Titan. Like, one of the film's biggest aspects was the pacing and the plotting. Like, there's three intertwining storylines here. Gon's journey, the human plot, the Godzilla subplot, and that, like, some of these keep viewers engaged from start to finish here for the first time in a Monsterverse movie. Khan's narrative arc is to stand out, and honestly, this movie, since Godzilla once again doesn't appear in this as much, and that's going to be a problem for Godzilla fans, Khan appears way more, so that would be happy for Khan fans. So this one feels more like Khan's movie. Godzilla vs. Kong from 2021 was more Godzilla's movie. This one is Khan's movie. Right, so I like that the sequel this time was about Khan. Yeah, Khan's narrative arc is literally the standout. The human plot, I'll admit, I still don't like the human stuff, but the human stuff was a little more tolerable this time compared to some of the other Monsterverse projects I've seen. You got characters like G and Trapper. They do add some depth and dimension to the story, and the Godzilla subplot is this perfect little bit of tension and anticipation, and you get a climax showdown that's as epic as satisfying. And of course, you have a memorable villain here, and the villain here is actually not a human being. The villain here is legitimately a monstrous Khan called the Scar King. He presents looms large over every other scene. The Scar King was cruel, menacing, captivating, and he serves as the perfect foil to our heroic protagonists. Drives the narrative forward with each scheme and dastardly deed, and the world building was very impressive. It got tantalizing glimpses into a rich and expansive universe teeming with lore and intrigue. Yeah, it's in the introduction to the antagonist, the Scar King himself, was very interesting. Love the concept of this guy as well. It's definitely interesting for a Titan to have human-like behavior and a whole new layer of excitement to the movie, and put one of the best monster battles in a USA Godzilla movie brought to the screen. And of course, for this movie, you also have the hearts. During the chaos and destruction here, you have moments of emotion between the Titans and the humans. And Emperor's new empire is the new bonds that were made between the characters in this one. Yeah, that's and the best. Yeah, so yeah, honestly, the best thing is you get to spend more time with the monsters in this one. For once, the human characters got way less screen time in this one, and it felt more about the monsters, and that's why the film felt amazing for me. We finally get a movie in the Monsterverse that's about the monsters. We don't care about the human characters. We want to see the monsters when we see a Monsterverse film. We want to see one about the two. Finally, we get something like that. Even Godzilla King of the Monsters, there's more Godzilla, but even that felt more like it was about the humans. Same with Godzilla vs. Kong, the first one. Then you got Kong, and then you get, Kong also has a companion with him, and his name is Suko, who's this really, young gorilla. Suko ends up becoming, this son to Kong, and, he was definitely a very great character, who was very adorable. It's very adorable, very little mischievous at times, and even had a bit of, humor to the film, and even showed the loyalty and affection towards Kong. Then you have Godzilla and Kong's team up. You see Godzilla and Kong teaming up in this one. They fight for a little bit, and then they team up to destroy the much bigger threat together, and that's something, most Godzilla vs. Kong people are actually interested in seeing. Godzilla and Kong legitimately teaming up, and that's something we never saw before. And these two iconic titans to fighting the Scar King and his pet monster I'll mention later. But yeah, once the sinkhole's found, Rebecca Hall's character travels to Miami, finds Brian Tyree Henry's character from the last movie, goes to his help, and figures out a connection to Gia's visions. He agrees to help on the condition he gets to go with Rebecca Hall to Hollow Earth. Then another energy surge occurs, and Godzilla senses this one, so he leaves his little Coliseum home, and he makes his way towards the source. At the same time, Kong literally emerges from Hollow Earth and finds Rebecca Hall and Gia, and shows them his rotting tooth. So Rebecca Hall contacts her old friend named Trapper, played by Dan Stevens. So Trapper uses a large piece of his tech to pull out the tooth, and Kong gets a metallic replacement. Then of course, Brian Tyree Henry's character tells Rebecca Hall that a distress signal got detected from Hollow Earth, so our human characters and a pilot named Mikhail, they start following Kong to the way down. Then Godzilla makes his way to a nuclear power plant. No, not Kong. Godzilla makes his way to France at a power plant, And he starts to absorb radiation to charge himself up, get himself prepared. They just swoop in and try to shoot him down. Godzilla just swats them away like flies, like, get the fuck out of here, bitches. I'm charging myself up. Hampton sees Godzilla is then making his way towards another Titan called Tiamat, and he's in the North Pole. So the researchers determine that if Godzilla kills Tiamat, he's going to become supercharged. Then the crew back at Hollow Earth come upon the Monarch outpost, and they find it destroyed, and the researchers are all dead. And they find then there's a bloody popper on the stone, and Trapper sees it's meant to be kind of a call for war. Then we cut back to Khan, and he finds a sinkhole, and he comes upon this submarine realm. He walks with his axe, comes upon another figure, and it turns out it's another. And then we meet Suko, who's a smaller ape, the smaller ape character I mentioned. Khan tries to approach her peacefully, but Suko bites him, and then 3 other apes attack Khan. One of them nearly kills Khan, but then Khan trees himself from another ape's grasp and beats them up. He even uses Suko as a club against them and kills one. Then another ape falls off the cliff, but Khan grabs him and pulls him to safety. And then the ungrateful ape, though, decides to be an ungrateful bastard and stab Khan. And then the ape gets kicked to his death, and the 3rd ape retreats. So he pretty much makes so Khan then makes Suko guide him on his journey. Yeah, the action sequences from there are very exciting, and they're a wild ride. Such great visual effects, and now Wingard's direction gets great lighting and does this great job with this movie. The music score is promising as well. Like the cast ensemble are great, even if their characters aren't that good, but they thankfully aren't the main focus of the film. And they're more on the sidelines, because this one is supposed to be about the monsters, not the humans, finally. And Dan Stevens, he's not a bad comic relief, along with Brian Tyree Henry. Their jokes land, unlike Brian Tyree Henry's jokes in the last Godzilla vs. Kong movie, which were, his jokes here, they're definitely much better than this one. Because they're not, overdone to death here, and, their comedy is much better than Marvel today, even. I'll take these two's comedy over a majority of comedy Disney tries to do today. Our creative decision of this film has this perfect little 80s feel, and the music and color, they're definitely perfect along with the cinematography. And it also gets some new titans in this movie as well, not just Godzilla and Kong. The Monsterverse here, you got glimpses of other creatures, and this one though, it finally brings them to the forefront, and you witness these new titans, their powers, designs, interacting with the others, and you get this spectacle, and you get this very amazing spectacle. Then, of course, and you get a deeper dive into Hollow Earth here. The previous films had hinted at this whole world. This time, you get to delve deeper, and you take this breathtaking world teeming with the life, monstrous, and beautiful. The expansion of the Monsterverse, the first expansion of this whole franchise. You get this whole new dimension to explore. So anyway, we cut back to the Hollow Earth crew, and the crew is then flying again with another energy surge, and their ship crashes. Trapper Bernie then sensed danger, but then Michael decides to try to take the lead. Then that gets him eaten by a tree creature, which is good because thankfully that prick's out of the way. That character is kind of a prick. The others then run, but they come upon the ruins of an old temple that's dedicated to Mothra. So Dia activates the entrance, and they go through a protective field into the submarine realm. So we cut back to Suko and Khan though, and Suko brings Khan to a watering hole to drink out of. Then a gigantic serpent monster emerges, tries to take Khan out. Khan fights back and uses his axe to turn the captive into a serpent. So Khan takes the serpent's remains and eats it, even sharing some with Suko even. And Suko's literally surprised, even though she technically meant to lead Khan to a trap. But Suko's surprised that Khan actually defeated the monster easy. And Monarch is then tracking Godzilla's path. And they reach a Tiamat. Then the Titan emerges. And then this underwater Titan emerges and battles Godzilla. And Tiamat wraps herself around him, but Godzilla turns her into sushi immediately. And literally just absorbs her to radiation in minutes. Then he returns underwater to get himself ready. That's what he kind of does most of the film for Godzilla fans wondering. Then the crew get found by the little Jai warriors, or the tribe warriors, and they recognize Gia. And so the leader of the tribe communicates with Gia and brings her forward. They touch hands, they share visions and flashbacks of the tribe and Gia's own personal memories, and Eileen realizes that the stress they received was coming from the IWE. So the crew get guided further to the temple. Then Elite translates them to their history, where apparently we find out that these Khan apes were humanity's protectors at the time. But then the Scar King led an army of them to attack and the surface world as war against Godzilla and the species. Then this mighty dinosaur stepped in and trapped the Scar King and his army within Hollow Earth so they wouldn't escape. And then a direct descendant of them, which is Gia, will be the one to reawaken Mothra. So with the score, like, I haven't talked about the score yet, but now I'm going to. What accompanies the visuals is the score done by Junkie XL. Music pulses with energy, it gets attention heightened, you get excited for that battle, and the thunderous drums announce Godzilla's arrival, the haunting melodies that accompany Kong's journey, and the soundtrack enhances every moment of the film. But yeah, the action sequences are still the crowning achievements. Like, the battles between Godzilla and Kong are nothing short of epic here. Their each encounter gets surpassed the last in scale of intensity. They trade blows made as city ruins or team up against this common threat. Every fight is a thrill ride from start to finish. Like, the choreography is masterful, showcasing unique abilities of each monster, keeping the audience on the edge of their seats. Then the new Empire is more than just a series of epic battles. Like, you get some themes of redemption and sacrifice and the power of unity, but they're not over preachy. They're not over forced in our throats. Here, like, they don't overforce the film. Because Godzilla and Kong, like, face off each other in our formal foes, they have to confront their own inner demons in this movie. And the emotional depth adds layers to the story, and it's a truly memorable and impactful experience. That's why it's called entertainment. Like, the movie's entertaining, and it serves its purpose to be entertaining, not be about story all the time. If you're expecting a film about story, you'll get disappointed. If you're expecting pure entertainment, you get exactly that here, and you're satisfied. You get this awesome balls-to-the-walls three-way showdown between Godzilla, a huge King Kong, a cruel lean giant orangutan with a spine whip. And that all delivers here. And also, an absolutely colossal ice drake twice the size of Godzilla himself. That I'm about to mention very soon. Like, the action doesn't feel overworn out repetitive. You get some breaks, let the viewers breathe, and it gets right back to the good stuff here. That's finally doing this. There's several big fight scenes in a movie with the final clash of the Titans here. And while you do watch, like, although to be fair, the action scenes are probably the only thing some viewers will likely remember. Like, monster fights can sometimes get messy, but especially due to the flash of light here, some may not know what's going on. But let's get back to the story though. Where after, like, we cut back to Kong and Zuko, and Kong's following Zuko with the other great apes are located that we were told about, and then Kong's huge surprise to see the apes about his size as well, more apes. Apparently those apes were forced into hard labor by Scar King, and Kong sees one of the Scar King's enforcers antagonizes the ape, so Kong steps in and has the enforcer try to get in his face, but Kong sucker punches him, knocks him down, and then the Scar King finally shows up and meets Kong. And they see his metal tooth and they start laughing at him. Scar King tries to come down on Zuko, but the surviving ape from earlier defends Zuko. The Scar King kicks the ape into a pit of lava with no remorse, and that makes him such a scary antagonist, and Zuko wails in agony, because that must have been like her dad. So Kong and Scar King engage in a duel. The Scar King utilizes a whip made from another Titan's spine, and Kong overpowers the Scar King, and then the evil ape summons his secret weapon, Shimo, the Ice Titan, that I've mentioned throughout the movie, Shimo was controlled by the Scar King in this movie, and uses a crystal that causes her a lot of pain. Makes Shimo breathe ice towards Kong, attempts to deflect it with his axe, but the blast is powerful enough to envelop Kong's arm in ice, and causes his arm to get frostbite, and it weakens him. Kong then starts to flee with some of Scar King's apes pursuing him, but leads them into one of their traps, and killing all of them, except one ape that got punched out because he used another ape to shield himself from the falling rocks. Then Godzilla reawakens. He's now fully charged with the power, and causes dorsal plates to glow this typical color. Then Kong enters the surface world through a portal in Cairo, and then but first, before all that, the Earth crew then found Godzilla. They heal his arm, they give him a robot one, and then he's fully back. He's now ready to go kick some ass. Then we cut to what I just mentioned earlier, Godzilla reawakening. So then Kong, after Kong is recovered, regains his strength, he then enters the surface world through a portal in Cairo, and Godzilla hears Kong's roar and makes his way over. Of course, Big Godzilla is not happy to see Kong again. So he charges towards him, and though Kong makes an attempt to convince Godzilla to join him, yeah, but But then Godzilla tackles Kong, and they get another big fight. And you actually do get more of a better fight between them here. And it destroys a bunch of pyramids. And Kong like puts his new glove to good use to punch Godzilla a few times. And they fall down into Hollow Earth. And while their Gia's ritual is undergoing. And it ushers the rebirth of, guess who? Mothra. So Mothra makes her way to the surface to intervene in the fight. And Godzilla is stunned to see his old ally once more from King of the Monsters is back. It's enough for him to put aside his mess with Kong, and so him and Kong join forces to take down the Scar King. The Scar King and his foes, though, are fast approaching, so the humans come up with a plan to create gravity surge to apply technology to have the crystals create a reaction that's going to use to stop the evil titans from escaping. So Scar King has Shimo freeze the veil and break it down so he can enter. Then Godzilla and Kong then team up, charging to battle together, and they lead towards Shimo and the Scar King. And for the Ultimate Monster Smackdown, the surge commences with the two apes and two lizards duking out in middle-air together. And the Scar King unfortunately tries to get in, but Zuko joins the fight and sends a traitorous ape falling to his brutal death. And Mothra then protects the humans trying to fly to safety, and then the four main titans that fall through the portal through the surface world. And this is right there is where the finale happens. And man, was this the best action-packed finale ever. And also kind of hilarious where they end up. You want to know where the titans end up of all places? Not New York, not Japan. Guess what? They end up in Rio de Janeiro of all places. On a beach, literally. And ironically, when the Scar King arrives on his beach, it's kind of a funny reaction versus like, oh, it's kind of like, where the heck am I? Oh, well, I'm on this beach. I guess I'll rule it. Like, clearly what he thinks, like, probably surprised to see himself randomly there. So he, like, pretty much then scares off the beach people. And, like, it's very great how he looks. Like, he looks bigger than the entire city himself. It may not seem like it at first, but once he's on that beach, he looks huge as shit. Then Scar King uses Shimo to unleash her ice powers on the world, freezes several buildings, fires a blast in the sky, then Kong arrives, gets a few more kicks against the Scar King, but Shimo makes it hard for Kong to defeat him, so Godzilla charges up his atomic breath against the Scar King, then dodges the blast, but then Godzilla gets the crystal whipped off the rift by Godzilla. The Titans try to get the crystal, but Zuko jumps through the portal with Kong's axe, then enters the battle to shatter the crystal with a swing of the axe. So Shimo is now free from Scar King's control, and now Scar King does not have a weapon anymore, so Kong tosses the evil ape towards Godzilla, and this is how both Kong and Godzilla defeat the Scar King, and Godzilla whips him back with his tail towards Kong like a volleyball, and this was fucking hilarious and awesome to watch right there. And then, of course, he holds Scar King in the air. Then Shimo turns on her former master, finally done being the Scar King's little bitch, and freezes him like a literal icicle, or apesicle, or popsicle. And guess what it does? Kong then literally, I was hoping Kong would shatter his body on the ground. Instead, Kong shatters Scar King to millions of pieces. I think he rips him apart. Now this, when I was in the theater, I was like, yes! I was cheering for him to kill a fuck. I had a huge smile on my face in the theater at this whole finale. And Godzilla then uses his breath to undo the ice blast and sets everything back to normal. Rio de Janeiro's restored, the ice powers are all gone. And then, of course, after the whole battle is over, Godzilla and Kong duked it out. They defeated the Scar King. They teamed up with their alliance to defeat the war foe. That's actually the one they should be defeating. They've teamed up. They did some teamwork. But now they're ready to go back to their lives. Godzilla goes back to the Coliseum and goes back to sleeping in the Coliseum until another threat arrives. Mothra then repairs the veil in Hollow Earth and goes back to Hollow Earth. And Rebecca Hall's ready to let Gia stay there and part ways, but Gia decides to stay with Rebecca Hall's character. And the two of them part ways with the tribe, and they part ways with Trapper and Bernie. Kong, on the other hand, goes back to the Great Apes with Zuko and Shimo. And of course also, Shimo's now being treated way better now and not being abused so much for bad. And then Kong then stands before the other apes as their new leader. He raises his axe to the sky, does his mighty roar, and the apes return with respect. And that's right there, guys, is where the movie ends, and it's a terrific way to end it. In fact, if this was the finale of the Monsterverse, I'd be satisfied. I'd probably be very happy. Kong's now found a new species of his own. He's now ruling them. He's now King Kong. Now you can call him King Kong. Like, Godzilla's, like, now a protector of Earth, like, now, and now he's probably gonna get more praise from all that. Like, Gia and Rebecca Hall's character now at peace with one another. Like, yeah, if this was the finale of the Monsterverse, there's probably gonna be more movies coming out, but if this was the finale, if this was the last movie they did, I'd be satisfied. I'd actually wouldn't mind if this was the ending. This actually seems like a nice end. Now, as much as epic as this movie is, it does not surpass Godzilla Minus One. I have to reiterate that. Not even close. And because I still had nitpicks with this movie. Like, for Godzilla fans, like, once again, kind of the same problems as Godzilla 2014. Now, Godzilla does, no, it's not like that movie where he doesn't appear till the end. Godzilla appears more in this movie, more than that film. He still has less scenes again. But this time, I could give it a pass because technically this is more Kong's movie. So, and Godzilla had like his role in 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. That was Godzilla's movie. New Empire's more Kong's movie. So it's kind of nice to see Kong more in this one because we didn't really get to see much of Kong in this Monsterverse. So let's see more Kong. And I'm kind of more of a Kong guy, guys. The human scenes, yeah, once again, they're not that good, but they're a little more tolerable here compared to the two Godzilla movies and Godzilla vs. Kong. I loved Godzilla vs. Kong, but the human scenes were still a bad quality for me for that film as well. The only times like the human scenes are tolerable was Kong Skull Island. I'll admit that. So probably the first time the human scenes were tolerable since Kong Skull Island. I'll say that. And there's too many characters at times, so it did get a bit too convoluted, but I can forgive those flaws because this movie was because I still thought this movie was pure entertainment. If you're hoping to see one that's about the monsters this time, you should totally go see this because it's an epic Monsterverse kaiju film this year, and it's definitely the first time you're going to get a Monsterverse film that's actually about the monsters for once if you were a little disappointed by the human focuses. So guys, in the end, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire is the second best movie of the year for me, and it's totally worth buying for your Monsterverse collection if you love Godzilla vs. Kong and love some of the other stuff. You will likely love this movie even more. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are a fan of the Monsterverse and excited to see these two team up for the first time ever and finally be the main focus of the film, totally go see and buy this movie for your Monsterverse collection, no doubt. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, I'm going to give Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire a 9.5 out of 10. There we go, guys. That wraps up my review for Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. So I want you to guys, now I want to know your opinions. What did you think of this movie if you saw it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was a little overhyped? Do you think I'm a little over-exaggerating my score? Did you love the movie as much as I did? And what would your score be if you have seen the movie? Tell me in the comments down below. I'm interested in hearing your guys' opinions now. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.